Hello, everyone. I'm Doug McConnell. I'm the one of the co-founders and executive director of A Long Swim. Many of you know A Long Swim because of its mission to raise money for collaborative ALS research, which has been exceedingly rewarding and so forth. We've been at it since 2011, it's really been very exciting. Of course, here we came to 2020, which has been a very tough year for everyone between the pandemic and other restrictions. Our summer series of swims, the swims that we host in the lakes around Chicago, were canceled and had to be replaced with virtual events, which were kind of fun to put together and quite successful. But I think it's really caused the 2020 experience has really caused us to kind of redouble our commitment to raising money for collaborative ALS research that must never stop. And as many of you have heard me say before, we're not going to stop swimming until we meet an ALS survivor. And that day is approaching all the more quickly with some of the developments that are happening in that research world. We have so to supplement some of our activities for 2020 and get a little bit creative. One sponsored athlete, A Long Swim sponsored athlete, is at it for this year. Hannah Meyer has become a very close friend, and she will be swimming the Monterey Bay in California, from Santa Cruz down to Monterey. Later in September, and all of her activities will also be benefiting A Long Swim. We've had the wonderful experience of being able to sponsor Hannah in previous events, far and away this Monterey Bay swim will be a huge undertaking and a very, very challenging swim. We'll get to some of the remarks with Hannah here in a couple of minutes. I am also going to be doing what we call a signature swim, that's going to be right here in Chicago. And really to celebrate collaboration, we're going to swim from Northwestern to Northwestern. So we'll start up at the undergrad campus of Northwestern in Evanston, swim to the medical school downtown, which is just off Michigan Avenue near Navy Pier. And really to celebrate the important scientific collaborations between the medical school and the chemistry department in particular up in Evanston. So that will be the celebration of collaboration. As you watch more of this video, I sat down with Hannah and had a nice Zoom conversation, talk about some of her background and how she chose this Monterey swim in the year of so many events being canceled. I think you'll be as enthusiastic about her swim as she is. Certainly, as she's so optimistic and so upbeat. It's really fun to visit with her. Speaking of optimistic and upbeat, we also will visit with Dr. Hande Ozdinler, who is the A Long Swim scientific advisor, about some of the developments in her lab that we're very proud to support at Northwestern's Feinberg School of Medicine. And Dr. Ozdinler has really committed to collaboration with ALS centers around the world, and then within the four walls of Northwestern itself. So she's really the kind of the quarterback of those collaborations, and we just couldn't be more proud of the work that she's doing. Anyway, a few remarks, and hope you enjoyed the video and the information we have today. Love to invite you to our new website, alongswim.org. There is a donate here button that is shamelessly attached to the front page of the website, and all donations, of course, will be humbly accepted. Anyway, thank you for joining us. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that A Long Swim has done very successfully, I think, is sponsor athletes. And these are athletes who have had a passion for ALS, a passion for marathon swimming, all sorts of ingredients that go together to make them very supportive of the charity and of the mission and so forth. I will say that of the athletes that we've been able to sponsor in the past, many have been triathletes and marathon runners and so forth. None quite fall into the category that Hannah does. So I'd like to introduce Hannah Meyer, a very close friend, and has been a close friend for several years now. And some of the plans that Hannah has with respect to a very challenging marathon swim coming up and so forth. Anyway, Hannah, say hello.
Hi. I'm Hannah.
That's right. That's right. So Hannah, talk a little bit about the swim that you are planning, the marathon swim that you're planning for later in this fall, and kind of how that's going to come together.
Yeah, so happy to be here. I think what's interesting to note is that I was supposed to be swimming the Catalina Channel and kicking off a big campaign to start my Ocean 7 run this year. But because of everything happening, the Catalina Channel Association canceled all marathon swims this year. And so I found myself in a position of, okay, what do I do now? I've been talking to my my senior crew chief, as I call her, Chief Sylvia. So she's been telling me about the hardest marathon swim, and there's been all these attempts, and only 27% success rate, and most of the success has been women, and how it's so tough. And so she and I were talking one night, and we hatched a plan, and she said, well, you should just swim Monterey Bay. And I thought, well, okay, you said it was hard, but now tell me why. Tell me what is it about this swim? How can I do it? That sort of thing. And the appeal to start my campaign for Ocean 7 with Catalina was because it's right here in California. So it's right in the backyard. And so now the appeal for Monterey is it's a really hard swim, and I can drive there. So it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly starting with a super challenging swim, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I think with respect to the Ocean 7 challenges, this will be great groundwork. Now, on the one hand, it doesn't count as one of the 7, but on the other hand, it will be an extraordinary learning experience for you to be able to get through that and build confidence and so forth as you think about Catalina and England and some of the Japan and some of the others that go on that list. Talk about the transition then as you got interested in open water swimming and so forth, having been such a successful pool swimmer.
Yeah, I pool swimming, it broke me. So the reason I started swimming again is because I was in a car accident. Basically broke my neck and my back. And so I had to have cervical spinal surgery. So I have the same implant as you in my neck, the Medtronic Prestige. And I thought, you know what? I am only going to do what I love from now on. And what I love is swimming and coaching swimming and water polo. So I'm going to become a professional coach. That's what I'm going to do. So I moved back home and I started coaching part-time at Naperville North High School, which is one of the high schools that I attended. I graduated from Rosary, but I was coaching masters, and I was trying to remember it today, but one of my master swimmers said to me, Hannah, we're all gonna go do this open water swim race. It's, you can do a mile, you can do 2 miles, and it supports a charity. I thought, oh, okay, I'll do it. So he told me what it was, and I found the website, and I looked up the website, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I posted on Facebook, I'm gonna go do this A-long swim thing. It raises some money. Does anybody want to donate money? And you actually responded. You messaged me on Facebook Messenger and you're like, hi, I'm Doug. Like, I'm the founder of Along Swim. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, pleasure to meet you, you know? So I went and I did the swim. And I mean, I had swam in open water before, but I saw all these people. And, you know, I think I did the 1.2 my first time. And I was like, 1.2, go, look at all these people doing 2.4 miles. I can do 2.4 miles. So then I did the next Along Swim and I did 2.4. Then the next one I did a 5K. And then before you know it, I'm out swimming 10K, 15K. I mean, I just got addicted. And it's kind of all been downhill from there.
Okay, let's talk about Monterey Bay, which is has obviously a challenging swim for some different reasons, some of the same reasons, some of the different reasons, and so forth. It's a 25-mile swim from Santa Cruz to Monterey itself. Is that about right?
Yes and no. So it's about 25 miles if you swim the shortest possible route. However, when you're coming into Monterey, if you look at how the bay sort of curves up where that finish is, what happens is if you have any kind of wind, I forget which direction it is, but what happens is the water kind of swirls right there. It swirls and it comes up and it can push you either direction away from the finish. So it kind of like the English Channel where you kind of swim it in an S. There could be a situation where I'm going to have to swim east or west of the finish and then hit, like, hopefully hit a current to bring me in. But the problem with that is if there's a jellyfish bloom, because the jellyfish blooms will also trend with the wind and the current. So if there's a jellyfish bloom and there's high wind and it's choppy, so if it's choppy and high wind, the jellyfish will be a little bit lower and I really won't get stung that many times. If the wind is low and the water is more calm, the jellyfish will rise up and I will literally swim through it, hit hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And that's all at the end of the swim when you've been swimming for 13, 14, 15 hours. And then now I'm getting stung and I'm getting waves to the face or I'm dealing with current and that sort of thing. And then before that, so if we go backwards before that, in the middle of Monterey Bay, so if you go on Google Maps, in the middle of Monterey Bay, you see this kind of like triangular funnel that comes into the bay. And what that is it's a marine canyon and it's just as deep, which is bananas to think of. It's just as deep as the Grand Canyon. So it goes down. I mean, and that is some cold water. And what happens is all that water kind of shuffles its way up to the surface. So Monterey Bay itself is cold water all year long. So, and especially in the middle, now in the middle where you're at, you know, hours, I don't know, 4 through 10, let's say, that's going to be cold water. So the water starts kind of warm and then gets cold, and then you start to swim, you start to get towards the end, and then you get current and wind and jellyfish. But what's interesting about the Marine Canyon is it's very nutrient rich. So it brings a lot of critters. So there are local pods of orca. There are humpback whales, blue whales, sperm whales, dolphins. There's, I think, 3 or 4 different types of dolphins that they see. They're these big, ugly mola fish. They're called sunfish. And then coming out of Santa Cruz, which is the start, which I'll start in the dark, that's great white shark territory. So there's white sharks, whales, one of them being orca, very cold water conditions, and jellyfish, plus the distance. It's a lot.
But other than that, yeah, no, those obviously those are every one of those would be challenging unto themselves, and then you kind of heap them all onto this this one swim, and it's pretty mind-boggling and so forth, and perhaps should not come as a surprise that there just aren't all that many people who have attempted or completed this north to south trek across Monterey Bay. Talk a little bit about some of those numbers and how they fit together.
So there's been 17 attempts of Monterey Bay, 16 attempts going from Santa Cruz to Monterey, and then 1 attempt going from Monterey to Santa Cruz. Of those 17 total attempts, only 5 have been successful completions. So that's, I mean, what's the math on that? Like 30% success rate? Yeah. It's one of those attempts was it took 22 hours, and the swimmer swam from Monterey to Santa Cruz, but ran into conditions and wind and current and just had a heck of a battle. We call that a victory at sea day. Right. But of the 5 completed swimmers, 4 were female, and only 1 male has completed it. The main reasons for not finishing is cold, lack of preparation, and fog.
Yeah. I know the statistics for the English Channel that it's about 50% of the swimmers that start complete the swim, according to English Channel rules and all that kind of thing. And far and away, for the ones who do not complete the swim, far and away the reason is the cold. That just gets into your bones and is so hard to shake and so forth. One of the, I know that you've done a lot of cold water training and acclimation and so forth. What I've always said is that the only way to really acclimate to cold water is to spend a lot of time in cold water. And it just is, it's unpleasant, but it needs to be done. Otherwise, trying to last for 12 or 14 hours in 65-degree water or lower is, especially as you described, swimming over that marine trench, is that's a real undertaking. And
yeah, it's going to be cold.
Yeah, no, there's just no question about it. We talked a little bit about, those English Channel rules and so forth. I assume that you'll be kind of following those. Just hit the high points on what constitutes the English Channel rules.
Yeah, so I'll have 1 typical bathing suit, tank top style, no sleeves, no arms, no legs, that kind of thing. So 1 bathing suit or bathing costume, depending on where in the world you live. 1, I wear latex caps. I don't wear silicone. The cap doesn't really provide warmth or heat to your head anyways, but I will wear 1 latex cap, and I wear, my crew makes fun of me for this. Goggles can range anywhere from $6 to like $150. And some people spend a lot of money on their goggles because of, comfort and cushiness and polarized and these sort of things. I wear Malmsten Swedes. So I wear the kind of goggles that come in parts, and you have to put them together and tie a little string between the nose, and there's no padding for my eyes. I actually have bumps right here from wearing Swedes my whole life, but I can't wear anything else.
For everybody's benefit, these Swedish goggles are comical in their simplicity. As Hannah says, they literally have no cushion at all. They fit into your eye socket and so forth. I've tried them a number of times. They don't fit the bone structure of my face very well, but they're about as, and they're the $6 variety. They're the least expensive I think you can get. Okay, so that will comply with English Channel rules, in addition to the fact that as you stop for feedings, I assume on a 30-minute cycle, you can't touch the boat or anybody on the boat, unless the geography is too treacherous. The rule is that you have to start and end on dry land. So it's lots and lots of rules, but they can all be kind of boiled down to just those. You mentioned the fact that you would start the swim at night, and swim through the night and have that light, that sunrise lift and so forth. Have you looked at a tide chart? What time of day will you be getting in the water?
So that's a really good question. The conditions and the wind changes pretty quickly out there, and that's another one of the challenges, is the shift in conditions. And so I've chosen a pilot. a captain, a team captain, the two of them who are experts in reading charts and weather and predicting and working with currents. They're actually studying everything they can get their hands on right now. So we are going to meet at about 6 p.m. and reassess and check and do all the calculations and all the nautical and wind things. And we will decide the start time after that. So yeah. I might show up at 6 and they say, now's the time to go. And I throw on my cap and goggles and I go. Or we're going to sit and wait until, you know, a couple hours later, because it's not just what the weather is right now. The most important piece is going to be what the weather will be in the morning.
And it is such a team effort. And I've not ever met Brian and Sylvia, but heard just wonderful things about both of them and so forth. I think clearly you'll be in good hands. Take it another step though, in terms of the role of the support crew, and not only your boat pilot, but your observer and some of those other, because it bakes into so many elements that are so critical for marathon swimming. Don't want to sound hyperbolic about this, but you quite literally put your life in their hands.
Yeah. Yes, you do. And I think that's why I think I've talked about Brian and Sylvia like 6 times already, but Brian and Sylvia are licensed professional pilots, and they run their own business, and this is all that they do. This is what they do. And in my humble opinion, they're the best at it, you know, in my experience. I haven't really experienced many other people because I just swim with them. But so I have them, and Sylvia anticipates my needs. So she knows my stroke rate. She knows what my stroke sounds like. If she turns her back because she's pouring a feed for me, and I stop because I'm fixing my goggles, she will whip around and like, what is Hannah doing? Why'd she stop swimming? You know, like she's on it. And then I'm going to have a paddler with me. So a kayaker. I refer to a kayaker as a paddler. My paddler will be Jax Cole. Jax is a legend in open water swimming. She's a marathon swimmer herself. She's highly sought after for the Catalina Channel, the Santa Barbara Association swims, all of those. But Jax is a very good friend of mine, and Jax is all about safety. And that is the number one thing, is the safety of the swimmer. And so having Brian and Sylvia, where safety first is their motto, and Jax, I feel very, very confident that I will be fine. But we are going to swim in a specific formation. So because of the threat of white sharks, which are unpredictable, and the reason the white sharks are so unpredictable in Santa Cruz is because Santa Cruz is a bit of an estuary, so there's a lot of juveniles. And the juveniles are the ones that will get you. They're the ones that aren't experienced enough. The big old guys don't go for swimmers and surfers. It's the juveniles. So I'm going to have Jax to my right. I'll swim in the center, and then I'll have the boat to the left. And we're going to choose lights of certain colors so that we're not attracting bait fish, and we're not attracting squids or anything else that a shark might be interested in, or an orca. I love orcas, but they can stay over there. They're big and fast, and they can stay over there, and they have teeth. So I'll have that, and then I train. Jax paddles my training swims all the time, so she knows my feeding requirements. So does Sylvia. They know so much about me, and I think that's what makes them such a great team.
Infinite. I know that you have done a lot of training and sort of fine tuning on nutrition plans, and some people who will be listening know a lot about nutrition when it comes to endurance sports. Others are, it's kind of a black box. Talk about what you've discovered that has worked for your physiology and your longer swims.
Yeah, this is a great topic because feeds are extremely personal. Just like diet is personal, allergies are personal. Not everybody is going to react the same way to the same things. So thanks to you, Doug, I've been introduced to Infinite, and Infinite is amazing because I've been able to, you can kind of custom blend what I need in the form of a drink. So their whole nutrition and their whole model is based on the fact that you don't need gels and goos and solid foods. You can sustain your electrolytes, caffeine, protein, amino acids, what else is in there that I'm forgetting? Sodium, your salt, that sort of thing, all in these drinks.
I cannot thank you enough, not only for, I mean, your rigorous training and preparation for all of this and so forth. I don't want to get too far ahead in terms of looking beyond Monterey and so forth, but I know that you have some good long-term plans with respect to marathon swimming. You're obviously still a very young woman and so forth. Talk a little bit about what else you'd like to accomplish with marathon swimming.
What's unique about swimming for me is that, you know, all of these injuries to my body haven't held me back. They've only pushed me forward. And, you know, that's kind of like who I am. And that's where I come from is fear doesn't hold me back. When I get scared, I don't stand still like a deer in headlights. I keep moving forward and I let it fuel me. And so that's why marathon swimming is so perfect for me. I love it. And if I can continue to do this, and I will continue to do this, and you know, do it for an organization like Along Swim, where we're doing so much good and we're raising all this money for this incredibly just disastrous disease, that we're going to keep swimming until we find a cure. So Catalina was canceled this year, and we pushed it to next year. So Catalina, I'm still swimming Catalina again next year. And, you know, I'm thinking about adding some more next spring or summer as training swims. So more to be revealed, but there's a lot of opportunity here in Southern California. There's lots of Santa Barbara Channel Islands, and you know, no one's ever swam from all of the 8 islands to the mainland before. So I don't know, just might have to start taking some of those off the list, but I'm not done. I'm not done. You know, we're not done.
This is exciting stuff, and I think your enthusiasm is infectious, to be sure. And we are just so grateful that you have chosen to work with Along Swim and have been so successful at not only your rigorous training and preparation and taking good care with all the safety resources and so forth, but then to consider that you would support our charity is just that much more. It's just a wonderful gesture, and we're so appreciative of your graciousness. So anyway, you've got a lot of training to do, a lot of getting ready to do for this exciting swim, and thank you again for joining us. This has been very, very interesting and so forth. I don't doubt that there are some people listening who will be having bad dreams about white sharks and orcas coming up, but that's the kind of the cost of doing business in this sport.
Right. I know. I am having dreams. I want humpback whales. That's all I want.
Wouldn't that be exciting to see?
Oh, I'm manifesting them. I will hug it. I don't care if they arrest me for touching marine life. I will hug it.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much, Hannah. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's hard not to be caught up in the enthusiasm and optimism that Hannah has about her Monterey Bay swim coming up here in a few weeks. She's a wonderful teammate, and we're thrilled to have her aboard. A very clear message from Hannah's remarks have to do with the collaboration with her team, her training partners, her nutrition partners, even to be able to do an undertaking like a Monterey Bay swim. When it comes to collaboration, though, our real superstar is Dr. Hande Ozdinler, who really runs the Ozdinler Lab at Feinberg School of Medicine at Northwestern. Here's a woman who is dedicated her career to ALS and neurodegenerative disease research. We couldn't be more proud to be on her team as she expands her own team globally and within the confines of Northwestern University itself. I'm very interested in having you hear Hande's remarks and kind of get caught up in her enthusiasm too. So this is Hande Ozdinler. Good morning, everyone. I'm Doug McConnell. I'm one of the co-founders of A Long Swim, which is a nonprofit that is focused on raising money for collaborative ALS research. We raise that money using, in a fairly creative way, using distance and marathon swimming, so that we can kind of build a stark contrast to ALS itself. ALS, of course, is a neurodegenerative disease, the result of which is that ALS patients gradually lose the ability to use their muscles. Swimming was the perfect defiance of that because, of course, the swimmer has to use all their muscles all the time. We very quickly learned after we formed A Long Swim that one of its real important, maybe the most important ingredients to it is teamwork. With marathon swimming, of course, there's only one swimmer in the water, but the swimmer quite literally dedicates their life to the rest of the people on the team. And without that team, you don't get to the starting beach, let alone to the finishing beach. In the process of wanting to support ALS research, we found the perfect target. And we were introduced to Dr. Hande Ozdinler, whom you'll meet in a minute, who manages a lab with her name, the Ozdinler Lab, at the Feinberg School of Medicine at Northwestern University here in Chicago, and is unique in her approach to ALS research and ALS and other neurodegenerative disease research. Based on collaboration. And of course, in medical research, teamwork is called collaboration and so forth. So we're going to use them a little bit interchangeably. But Hande, we just knew we had the right fit when we learned about Hande's absolute commitment to collaboration and to teamwork and so forth. So we're going to talk a little bit about a swim that we're going to do here in a few weeks, but it really is dedicated to Hande's lab and to her fabulous work, really groundbreaking work when it comes to ALS and other kinds of neurodegenerative disease research. So I'd like to introduce my very good friend, Hande Ozdinler. And Hande, tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up at Northwestern.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you also for the nice words and kind words, Doug. So I actually received first training in molecular biology and genetics, then chemical engineering, biotechnology. And then I did my PhDs in cell biology, anatomy, and neuroscience. And then I went to Harvard Neurosurgery as a postdoc. Then I became a faculty at Harvard's neurosurgery department. And I was recruited to Northwestern to direct the second Les Turner lab. And this was also the first lab in the world which is dedicated solely on the biology of upper motor neurons. And so I have cell biology, molecular biology, genetics training. But what really defines me, I think, is my will to work with others and my will to form teams and my will to extend collaborations, because, you know, complex diseases like ALS cannot really be solved by one lab, cannot really be solved by just one person or one approach or one model or one vision or one perspective. You know, it is very complex. The brain is very complex, and we also have to be complex in our thinking, in our analysis, and also in our team building. the world is our playground. And I think that's how it needs to be, because ALS doesn't care which nationality you are, and diseases doesn't really care who you are. If you are human, you get the disease. So because we are all human as scientists, I think we will cure the disease by realizing that we are together in this and we should fight together. And this is what I would like to achieve. And I think we are making progress, and also thanks to you and thanks to your support and support of other people who are in the same mindset, I think we're going to make a change in the future.
It's so inspiring to hear you, and I think that dedication to collaboration, collaborative research is so on point with everything that we've done with our marathon swims. And I mean, for the benefit of everybody else, for Chicago to be able to hand off the research to Harvard in Cambridge, and then Oslo in Norway, and Johannesburg, and then Tokyo, and then back to Stanford, and then back to Chicago, it's like the sun never sets. And I think, and truly, I mean, all cliches aside, I think that the result has been that the pace of discovery has accelerated dramatically. And I mean, the announcements that your lab is making in conjunction with other labs, obviously, but is very, very exciting stuff. I want you to spend just a minute to talk about upper motor neurons, in part because when we first met now nearly 10 years ago, you were really a pioneer in upper motor neurons as it relates to ALS and other degenerative, neurodegenerative diseases. And I remember that was a fairly unpopular pursuit at the time. And now, I mean, fast forward 10 years, it has become one of the main rails of ALS research around the globe. So talk to us a little bit about upper motor neurons and why that's such an important pivot point in this disease.
Thank you so much, Doug. Yes, so ALS is characterized by degeneration of the upper, which are the neurons in the brain, and lower, which are the neurons in the spinal cord. So upper and lower motor neuron degeneration. So if you don't have degeneration in the brain, that's not considered ALS. So for it to be considered ALS, you really have to have upper motor neuron involvement. So the upper motor neurons are the neurons that play the most critical role for the initiation of movement. Let's say for me to send my hand forward, or for me, to open the door and use my fingers, and even to walk, to talk, I need my brain neurons to initiate the movement. So the movement starts in the brain. And because ALS is a motor neuron disease where the voluntary movement is impaired, the cortex plays a critical role. And if you improve the health of the cortex, then the health of the spinal motor neurons and even the neuromuscular junction is improved. So we think that ignoring brain is not a solution. When the London Bridge falls down, you cannot really put the blame, okay, it's this part falls down, that part falls down, the whole bridge falls down. So then we have to really include the upper motor neurons into the picture. And this is what we have been doing. We made the first reporter line. We characterized 5 different disease models. Now we have reporter lines of disease models. We are finding new drugs. We are finding biomarkers. And the field is moving forward. And I think the field is also realizing the importance of the brain.
I think that's very clear from what I've read. People and ALS research centers around the world have really embraced the study of upper motor neurons as kind of the place where all of that degeneration starts and can be studied. I know that in the process of studying these upper motor neurons, you have done a number of things. I'm thinking specifically of the process by which you lit them up so that you could see the deterioration versus the healthy motor neurons and so forth, which again, in the study of upper motor neurons was a real game changer.
Exactly, because as you know, brain is complex, right? It is very heterogeneous. There are millions of different cells, and not everyone looks alike, and it's a mixture of very different neuron populations all together. So then the upper motor neurons are very small in numbers, and they are hard to distinguish. And the people said, you know, brain is complex, and how do you know which one is an upper motor neuron? You can't even see them. And if you can't see them, you can't really study them. So we said, okay, you know, we understand the problem. Let's bring a solution. So then we made a genetic model in which the upper motor neurons are fluorescent, okay? So then they shine, you know, you cannot ignore them anymore. Here they are. And we made them fluorescent so that people can see. And the moment you can see is the moment you begin to understand, you begin to realize. So now that we can see, we can actually purify them in the most pure form, and we can look at their RNA, we can look at their protein, we can look at their lipids, we can look at their metabolomics, we can look at this, and we can look at different time points across the disease. And we can look also in different models which are developed due to different causes of the disease. And that helps us understand you know, exactly why the disease develops and what is the underlying cause in every patient. And again, of course, this opens the door for personalized medicine and you know, novel target discovery, biomarker discovery, and I think we opened the door to the gate.
Well, and all good reasons for the rest of us to be really optimistic and enthusiastic about that the research that you're doing. I just, for everybody, again, for everybody else's benefit, what it's also led to is a lot of brain surgery on mice, and so imagine doing brain surgery on a mouse. I want to shift gears just a little bit because I know that you have developed a very close collaboration with the chemistry department at the other campus. Okay, so the Feinberg School of Medicine is in downtown Chicago. It's right off of Michigan Avenue, kind of near Navy Pier, for those of you who know downtown Chicago. And the undergraduate campus for Northwestern is up in Evanston, which is immediately north of Chicago, and has a world-class chemistry department with a particular focus on drug discovery. So talk a little bit about the initiative that you've joined with the undergrad campus and kind of who the face cards are there.
Yes, so I'm actually very happy and lucky to be at Northwestern because it actually is the home for many great scientists. And it has the medical campus in downtown. Also, it has the Evanston campus in Evanston. And even though these are like two different cities in a way, Northwestern is united. And I think we emphasize this with teamwork and again with collaborations, right? So in Evanston, there is a Chemistry of Life Sciences Processes Institute, and it is called CLP. And I recently became one of the faculty members to CLP, and it was initiated by Dr. Silverman, and who invented Lyrica. So he is one of the world-renowned chemists. But within CLP, there are more than 45 faculty who are the best in their fields, and they believe in teamwork and they work together. So among the CLP members, I also work with Dr. Kelleher on proteomics, top-down approach, bottom-up approach, and finding biomarkers for ALS. And again, CLP member Shad Taxton, we're working together to find how ALS progresses and what the role exosomes play. And you know, Shad is also a very prominent scientist, and he was able to stop the progression of cancer again, modulating exosomes. So that's very smart. And we are trying to see if we can, you know, apply this to ALS in a way. So I think it's important to emphasize, again, the collaborative effort and the team effort. So even though the Chicago campus and the Northwest and the Evanston campus are, you know, far away, and you are going to combine it with your swim, we are actually connected through team effort and through collaborations. And I'm very happy, and I think in the future, this collaborative effort is going to result in more strong and powerful discoveries, especially in the field of drug discovery, in the field of biomarkers, and we will begin to stop disease progression. And those are very important points to celebrate.
Indeed, and I think this drug discovery and your collaboration with doctors Kelleher and Silverman critically important. And just tell us for a minute how that led then to the drug discovery grant that you received recently from NIH.
We've been working on this project for a very long time, and I met Dr. Silverman in an ALS Association meeting, ALSA meeting in Chicago. And he was giving a talk, I was giving a talk, and we met during lunch break. And, hello, how are you? What are you working on? I approach everyone, I say hello to everyone, and I just sat next to him and I said, hello, we never met, my name is Sunday. So it just started with a friendly conversation. And so he was talking about a compound that he had, which helps clear the protein aggregation in an SOD1 model in PC12 cell lines. And I said, wow, maybe we can try them in the model system that we have, and let's see if that also works for the upper motor neurons. So it was just a small pilot project, and boom, it was very good. Then we got new initiative grants from Northwestern, and we got support from Les Turner Foundation for 1 year. And then we tried to put money together, and we accumulated data such that we had enough data to apply for an NIH grant. So then we received $3.1 million from NIH, NIA, and now we're building novel drug treatment strategies for upper motor neurons. And I think we will make a difference in the field.
Well, it's so exciting to have those collaborations lead to really boxcar kind of money that will accelerate that development and facilitate it and so forth. And of course, the expertise that your lab brings, along with the expertise from the CLP and the experienced drug discovery people and so forth, it's just the combination is really, really exciting. I want to sort of parlay, if you will, off of what you were just talking about, and that's this connection between the Chicago campus, the medical school campus, and the Evanston campus. Those collaborations are critically important. And as we were planning a swim for this year, again to raise money for your lab, one of the ideas that we had was really to celebrate that collaboration. And of course, the one thing that the two campuses have in common is that they both sit on Lake Michigan. And so we started to think, well, what would happen if we swam from one campus to the other, Northwestern to Northwestern, as it were, and so forth. So we started to look into that a little bit, and in fact, that's our plan for this year. In a few weeks, on September 13th, which is a Sunday, we plan to hop in the water at the Northwestern beach into Lake Michigan, swim south along the lake shore, which of course is the most beautiful lake shore anywhere in the world, and end up at the medical school campus, kind of near Navy Pier. Now, of course, with the COVID restrictions and so forth, unlike most marathon swims where you like to start from a beach, walk into the water, swim across, walk out of the water, some of those restrictions, some of those protocols won't be met because we'll have to start from the water and some other things. But the long and short of it is that we'd really like to celebrate these collaborations, specifically the collaboration between the Osdenler Lab and CLP, and really as we hasten that drug discovery and the other study that you are doing, we're just so enthusiastic about it and so on. So the swim is expected to be Sunday the 13th of September. It's about 13 miles. And of course, in Lake Michigan, I do a lot of training in Lake Michigan, and I'm here to tell you some days Lake Michigan can be super unpredictable. every bit as challenging as the ocean swims that we've done as well. So we are kind of budgeting about 7 or 8 hours for the swim. Plan to start at 7 in the morning up at the Evanston end to bring us downtown or mid-afternoon probably. So
we will be able to trace you, right?
yes. There will be a tracker, that tracking technology that you're familiar with, so we can hand off a website to everybody and watch the little blip as it goes. I know that you remember my sister Ellen, who was taken by ALS a couple of years ago. She was the one who was quoted as saying that nothing could be more boring than marathon swimming, but that little blip on the computer really helps. So anybody who wants to follow along can do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I want to thank you for all your efforts. And I think you put your heart out. You work with all you might. And as you said, ALS takes the ability of patients to use their muscle. And you're not only using all your muscle, I think you're using your heart, your mind, your soul, and you're trying to bring people together and building teams and towards a cure, so that all patients will be survivors. And
Absolutely.
Our goal is also to see all patients to be survivors. And for that, we have to get together, we have to form teams, we have to work together. And I think this is what we will achieve now and in the future. Thank you so much, Doug, for all that you do.
Well, and we are honored to be able to work with you, Hande, and I cherish our friendship and so forth. And I agree with you. The cure is out there somewhere. So let's find it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hande.
Thank you.
For those of you who have made it this far, thank you for bearing up. And I can't help but think that you must be as enthusiastic about Hande's research as we are. We have supported Hande's research and her lab now for almost 10 years, and couldn't be more honored to do that. As part of that support, we started a fellowship in Hande's lab. This is a postdoctoral fellowship that we named the Ellen McConnell Blakeman ALS Research Fellowship. Kind of a mouthful, but we shorten it to just the Ellen Fellow. And Mukesh Gautam is the recipient of that fellowship, and Mukesh is a superstar, has been receiving international recognition for his work in the Osdenler lab already. We couldn't be more proud to be on Mukesh's team as well. With all of the activities of A-Long Swim this summer, we're so anxious to direct that money over to the Osdenler lab. Our target is $75,000 this summer, a little bit lower than it has been in recent years, but we're all becoming much more focused, much more committed to making sure that those dollars go as far as they can. All of these steps, of course, are really to find a cure for this horrific disease. The pace of discovery is accelerating all of the time. It's a very, very exciting time to be involved with ALS research, and we welcome you aboard to be on the A-Long Swim team. I'd invite you again to take a look at the revised and updated A-Long Swim website at alongswim.org. There's a donate here button that we would love for you to click. We would humbly accept any contributions coming our way. Thank you again, and welcome aboard. The cure is out there.